Hello and welcome back to episode 40, I think, because it's been so long, I can't remember what it actually is, of the Early Bar Football Podcast. It is Good Friday. Very good. And we are back because it's Good Friday. We've had so many technical difficulties, but we use patience because we are men who are patient. And we persevered and we are now here. Football is actually happening. Oxford are currently 3-2 up in the playoff promotion race. Mark Sykes has just come off, and Ryan Williams just come on with about 5 to go, lads. What are you thinking there? Are we going to beat Fleetwood?
I'm a bit nervous, to be honest, because obviously
a bit shaky.
You know what I mean? Shaky. You know what I mean? Because we're 3-2 up, and Fleetwood have brought it back a bit. But if we can hold on, well, Oxford just need to try and just win the rest of the games, don't they? I mean, we have kind of bottled it a little bit, but it does annoy me, the fans' overreaction. Oh, Robinson must go, he's bottled it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, we're competing against, we're not only competing, we're above clubs that have like much bigger budgets than Oxford. It's like, come on,
exactly.
Low expectation. And it wasn't that long ago, we was in the conference either, so come on. Yeah,
who knows? Anyway, I forgot to do introductions because it's been that long. We've been so busy. I apologise. Work has been super busy and my life's been super busy. So just no time to pod like that, like a really crap James Bond film. No time to die, no time to pod. So yeah, that's it for me. But yeah, I'm back. Chris is back. Hello, Chris. How are things? We've never been closer since Christmas. We are in the same town again for the next few days, which is nice.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. And things are good, although it does feel like I've stepped a bit back in time because I'm currently playing Lego Star Wars on my console.
Very good on the old console. Very good. And I tell you what, it's a sunny day, so there's nothing better than to be inside playing Lego Star Wars.
Oh, exactly.
Who's your favourite Star Wars character, Chris?
Oh, that's put me right on the spot.
That's a toughie.
That is a tough one, right on the spot. You know what? Even though he is a recent character, I'm going to go with the Mandalorian. I actually love him. I mean, spoilers if you haven't seen the Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett, by the way.
The Mandalorian's been out for 2 years. You can't spoiler check
that. but the fact that he carries around a Darksaber, obviously his Beskar armor. Yeah, it's just on point, and just the way that he talks as well. I mean, Pedro Pascal he's just a legend, isn't he? Pedro Pascal, and just although saying that, it's like, why haven't I said Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Shout out to Jar Jar Binks, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Nah.
I mean, you've gone for Mando.
I think I have, although I probably should have said Obi-Wan. But
hello there. Anyway, Ash, how are you? You're also in Whitney, so this has been the closest tight-knit pod we've had for a very long time, I feel. Separated by mere maybe a mile or so.
We should have done it in the pub. That's what I was.
We should have. And there's still time. We could definitely do it. Maybe Monday or something. An Easter Monday pod.
We can see if we can have a live in-person podcast.
That'll be great. We should actually do that. I'm very down. Let's talk logistics about that. Your favourite Star Wars character?
Hands down, Han Solo.
Hands down, Han Solo.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say hands down, Hans Molman, but that's The Simpsons. That would have been good.
Also, Ariana Grande's favourite Star Wars character, apparently.
Really? Hans Molman?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Han Solo.
Han Solo. Han Solo is the name of the guy from Fast and Furious as well.
Which guy?
Han.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I see.
I say spoiler, but that was like Fast and Furious.
You can't
like
spoil
15
Fast
years
and
ago.
Furious.
Yeah, no, you can't. His name is like Han Solo or something.
So, okay.
Yeah. 86 minutes. James Henry receives a clash to the head and will need treatment. He is going to come off, and Marcus McGuane is coming on. The Ox are edging towards a huge 3 points at Fleetwood. Now, we were going to talk about Dyche, but I think we just do a Soccer Saturday for the next 5 minutes, right? Because we're never live when games are on, so we might as well just do it, right?
Yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, Sheffield United just equalised against Reading, by the way.
Okay, but saying that, by putting that on the spot for all of us, I now need to get all the scores up. So give me a minute.
That's what I just thought you like. I do not know any of the scores.
And I also need to share my screen so I can see both of you guys. and the scores. But for those that, the League One title race is the League One promotion race is the one that we're probably interested in the most. And as Chris noted, Sunderland were 2-0 up against Shrewsbury. Now it's 2-2. So that's an interesting couple of points drop there potentially for Sunderland. Wycombe have just gone 2-0 up against Plymouth, which isn't ideal. I would have wanted a Plymouth win there, so we can sort of gain some points on Wycombe, but that's obviously doesn't look like it's going to happen. We are edging our way past Fleetwood, which is really good. We were 3-0 up in what was it, 15 minutes, wasn't it, or so, lads? And we've just let them back into the game.
Yeah,
which isn't ideal.
What was it? Matt Murray's he's the guy that's at Fleetwood. He's currently on the screen. I was a bit like, oh, please don't say there's been a goal and that. But I think he was just talking about whether it was a talk about the Henry clash he was on about a few minutes ago.
Okay. So that means Oxford, because we only care about Oxford, obviously, are currently 8th on 72 points, 43 games played. Then above us, 2 games less, but a point more is Sheffield Wednesday. And then above them, 1 game less than us, 1 game more than Sheffield Wednesday, is Sunderland, occupying that last playoff place with 74. So it's tight. I mean, Oxford, we lost 3 games in a row against, it was Morecambe, Portsmouth, and can't remember. Someone, Ipswich. No, it wasn't Ipswich.
No, it was Sunderland. We lost 2 on Sunderland.
It was Sunderland's last minute goal, wasn't it, basically? So if we got 1 more win in that, we would, or, it's so annoying. What a time to have our last, our worst sort of period of the season, like in the sort of the run up to the final games of the season. And I don't know, how are MK Dons second? I can't believe it. Do you remember when Wycombe had their promotion season, and we all just thought they are going to lose the game at some point, and they just never did. And then, was it that season? I think it was that season. They just didn't lose a game. MK are doing that again this year. I'm like, when will they lose a game? Because they will do, because they're MK and they're crap.
Yeah,
but they just haven't.
Although, in fairness to Wycombe's promotion, obviously it was when the season got curtailed due to the pandemic, and they got in on points per game. And I remember the Peterborough chairman, big Darren McAntony, wasn't very happy about it.
He wasn't happy at all. I'm just going to move over to the championship scores as well. How does Jeff Stelling do this? Oh God, I'm so
the championship's very close at the minute. The playoff race in the championship's good. There's quite a lot of teams that could make the playoffs this year. Middlesbrough, Sheffield United, Forest, Blackburn, Big Tony. Since I was bigging up Tony Mowbray, he's been absolutely crap. They were like 3rd in the table. Now they're like 9th. It's all gone wrong.
So is any for the championship? Is anyone really above Coventry? So Coventry down in 10th. Anyone above them are in this race.
Even Coventry, probably.
Yeah, I'd say Coventry.
Coventry and above are in. Sorry, I should have made that a bit more clear.
All big news from League 2.
Go on. Oh, jeez, Chris, I haven't even got League 2 up.
Scunthorpe have been relegated.
That's huge. I didn't realise Crewe got relegated last week.
Last week, yeah.
I didn't even notice. Last year.
Yeah.
What's Scunthorpe's nickname? Are they the Iron or something? No.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's something like that, yeah. But they've lost 3-0 away against Leyton Orient and rock bottom.
I tell you what,
League 2.
Oxford, there are 9 minutes of added time.
Oh no!
At Highbury, 9. Where's he got that from? Where's the ref got that from? 9. That's unbelievable. Scunthorpe have been pretty dire. They've conceded nearly 80 goals this year. This is huge. Swindon are 10th. We don't care about them. They're winning 4-0 against Harrogate. That's just the water. You can't. That's just a bottle of water. There's nothing there. Forest Green look like they're going up. And that's a huge win for. How many go down in the championship? Is it 3?
3.
3, yeah.
Well, Reading winning pretty much means this.
Derby are down for definite.
Not yet, but they pretty much are. They'll be 12 points behind with 15 to play.
I see that Wayne Rooney is the a few weeks ago everyone said what an amazing manager Wayne Rooney is. I don't know. Those people have gone very quiet.
Yeah, I mean, Bristol winning, Hull winning, Reading winning, Peterborough winning. They're all in the bottom 7. that's a huge. That's a lot of wins, and they're being a lot of like sort of upper half teams. It seems that's really tight. And then League One are their final scores on the doors. Burton 0, Accrington 0. Charlton have bottled it. Sorry, Ben.
Oh no,
Ben. No, you're joking.
It's not Oxford, but Sunderland.
Oh, thank God.
Sunderland have scored.
Chris, don't do that to me. Oh my God.
Yeah, but that's still bad.
Yeah, it's just as bad, really.
It's the same, but there's been a goal. But where? Chris, come at Olive.
Yeah. It's Sunderland 3, Shrewsbury 2. I don't know if it's the Loch Ness Drogba that scored Ross Stewart. I don't think it's Ross Stewart. To be fair, I don't really know many Sunderland players, but yeah, 92nd minute winner from the looks of it. Cross swung in from the left. It was like right footer in swinger, and then the striker's just got his head on it. I think it was the number 9 for Sunderland. So
I think it was Victor and Anichebe. Victor Anichebe.
No, it was Nathan Broadhead. Nathan Broadhead looks like he's won it.
No, Anichebe did play for Sunderland, didn't he?
He did, but it's not 2006. I'm joking. I don't know. He played very much more recently. Okay, so that's interesting. Chris, that was a really good Soccer Saturday impression. I thought you were going to be like, I was sitting there thinking, just put it in the net. Just put it in the net. That's pretty huge. But Sunderland play Argyle on Monday. Oh, God, and we've obviously got MK on Tuesday, which we're going to. Not you, Chris. Sorry. But me and Ash are with Ed and Leith. Sorry, that was very partridge of me. not you. I don't know. There's every single game week, there are teams in the top of the table playing each other. Sunderland still play Rotherham, but so do we. So this is... Oh, God, I hate football so much. Why do I do a podcast? Oh, God. Oxford are still still winning. I mean, I don't know how Jeff Stelling does this for Soccer Saturday's on for literally 6 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, they literally start 12:30.
We've done it for 12 minutes, and it's so hard.
12 minutes too long.
12 minutes too long, indeed.
We don't have to worry about Steve Bruce, though, as looks like West Brom have got a last-minute winner.
Oh, good.
It's a big Andy Carroll.
I can't remember. No, it was Carlin Grant. It was Carlin Grant that scored it. I think
what is happening?
Just showing the goal now. Typical Steve Bruce goal. Corner comes in. Andy Carroll hits it back across the box, and Carlin Grant easy tapping.
Chris, you should maybe Jeff. I know Jeff Stelling's staying another season, but maybe you should go in and be like, Jeff, I'll take over your job.
Yeah,
I think you should. I think you got the minerals.
But the man himself, Steve Bruce, has just come on the screen. He isn't even celebrating. He's just there, sort of scratching his face like that.
He's too good to celebrate. What is happening here? Because I'm looking at all the League One games. Portsmouth 90+7, Sunderland 90+6, we're 90+8, Charlton's at 90+6, Cheltenham's at 90+6. Too much added on time. There's way too much added. Get it gone. Get added on time out of this. Get me out of this league. That doesn't make any sense because there'd just be more added time in other leagues.
Unless there's a Shrewsbury equaliser, come on, just blow the full-time whistle.
Come on. I've got a couple of mates who support Shrewsbury. Please, Shrewsbury, do something.
Salops. Why do they call themselves the Salops? I don't get it.
I don't understand either. The Salop.
Shrewsbury fans, write in. Why are you called?
Please. What does Salop mean? Are we even pronouncing it correctly?
Yeah, we must be. SALOP. I can't see another way of pronouncing that.
Could be Salop.
Nah.
It just sounds like a posh word for slop. I don't sound like disrespectful to Shrewsbury fans, but it does sound
disrespect him, Chris.
Yeah.
I think Oxford's full time. No, it's not. It just says live now on Google. Come on, Oxford.
It's full time in the Sunderland game. It's ended 3-2.
Oh, God.
And it looks like Wickham are going to be beating Plymouth as well.
So not an ideal. There's the final whistle. We won. Oh, thank God. Right.
Come on.
Soccer Saturday is so stressful. I get why Jeff Stelling, when Hartlepool are playing, he gets really aggy. I understand that.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a really interesting and different time for us.
Funny thing, it's not even a Saturday today. It feels like a Saturday,
No,
but it's not even a Saturday.
Friday. Good. Should we stop? Should we give up on soccer Friday, football Friday, and actually do what we normally do on this pod and talk about stuff?
Yeah, might as well.
Maybe we should do more of that. Maybe maybe if we, maybe a Tuesday night or something, and there's like a Champions League game on or whatever. Maybe we should try and do a live one and watch the game live. We should do a
watch along.
Yeah, I think it's a good way of getting some content out there. We'll try and do that. But anyway, it's Easter. It's a lovely Friday. The sun was shining. It was shining here. It was shining in London. It's been shining all over the country. And I thought nothing could make me sad on this day. Nothing could shock me. Jesus is doing his thing, obviously every Easter. But the thing that shocked me when I saw the message was Sean Dyche, of all people, was sacked today by Burnley, and a few of his staff as well, which is just crazy. I was on the train earlier and I was trying to think about what Burnley thinking here, and two or three things came to mind. One, they have seen the Everton sort of bounce, and they're very worried about the Everton bounce. And they've obviously seen the Newcastle bounce, and they're basically safe. They've seen the Everton bounce, and they're scared. Two, finally, it was Dyche's time to go. But why would you do that with how many games are left in the season? 6, is it, or something?
I think it's 8 games.
7, 8, whatever. Or 3, which again, this is the one that it was sort of a rogue thought, but they are setting up for the Championship. But why would you do that without Sean Dyche, the man who got you out of the Championship to begin with? So, Chris, I want to come to you first. Why? What do you think went through the head and mind of Burnley's board here when they sacked Sean Dyche at this specific time on Bad Friday for Sean Dyche?
To be honest, I honestly don't know what the board are doing.
Baffling, isn't it? It was crazy.
It's not that. Like, you look at the job that Sean Dyche has done. He has massively overachieved with Burnley. Like, Burnley's not the biggest place in the world, and the fact that he's not only kept them up on what we'd call a shoestring budget. Like, you look at some of his past seasons. Like, he actually got them into Europe one season.
Mad.
The man is a legend at Burnley Football Club for what he's achieved in that, and not only that, he has, when Burnley have gone down previously, obviously they stuck with Sean Dyche, and he bounced them back up straight away the next season, and you're thinking, well, if we do go down, then the best man to take us back up is going to be someone like Sean Dyche. But it's the timing of it I don't get. Like, if they was going to sack him, why didn't they do it at the weekend after? After I can't remember who they played at the weekend, but why didn't they do it after that? Why didn't they do it after that game? And not only that, they don't seem to have a new manager ready, because they play West Ham on Sunday, and they don't have a new manager ready. I've heard that apparently it's going to be like their under 23s and Ben Mee running it. Ben Mee's going to be a player manager. It's kind of like, well, surely if you're going to sack Sean Dyche, surely you'd have a manager, ready to replace him and that. But it's not, because who are they going to bring in that's going to be different to Sean Dyche? Are they going to bring Are they going to tempt Big Sam out of
his name? Did roll round? I saw Big Sam.
And that, don't get me wrong, Big Sam, he might keep Burnley up. Obviously a similar style of football, just obviously lumping it up and being hard to beat, and that. But I don't know. I feel sorry for Sean Dyche, because, like I said, like he's massively punched upwards when he's been at Burnley and that. But I honestly don't know what's going through the board's head, to answer your question, to be honest.
They've got 8 games left. So they've got West Ham away, Southampton at home, Wolves at home, Watford away, Villa at home, Spurs away, Villa away. So they've got to play Villa twice, and Newcastle at home. That game at the end of the season, Newcastle, could be huge. Barnes, how many games do you see them winning out of that? I think I can see them winning Southampton at home. They might beat Newcastle at home on the last day. I reckon they can get a point out of Villa. I reckon they'll beat Watford. That's some points because I can't do maths.
That's about low 30s, I think. Because they're on, 24 points now. So if they, if they get 3 wins, then that'll be 33 points, which is still pretty terrible. It's interesting. I just want to, before I go into what my opinion is, I just want to read the esteemed football journalist Fogden and what he tweeted on the subject. No one is doing better than Sean Dyche. Burnley 100% relegated now. Now, when he says no one is doing better than Sean Dyche, I would just want everyone to cast your eyes on the Premier League table and look in the wins column. They've won 4 games all season, so they are quite bad. Norwich have won more games than Burnley have, and whilst I agree with you and Chris about that, I feel sorry for Dyche.
That's who they lost at the weekend. They lost to Norwich.
Oh, there you go. Very good.
That tipped the scales. And yeah, I agree with both of you that I feel sorry for him. And Chris mentioned those Europa League days when I remember them playing. I think it was Olympiacos at Turf Moor, and you're thinking, this is incredible for the size of club. But in the similar way, to me, Eddie Howe at Bournemouth sort of stayed too long. Like he could have left when he was at his peak in terms of values, and there were Everton were sniffing around him. There were quite a few clubs that were looking at him, and he had quite a lot of capital in the bank, and quite a lot of teams were looking at him. He showed faith in Burnley, which is commendable. However, they hit their ceiling. They're not going to get better than Europa League, and the only way from there is downwards. And over the last few seasons, they have been pretty bad, and their football isn't great. So, am I sad to see them potentially go down? Not really. Do I feel sorry for Sean Dyche? Because I think now, because of the way he's been sacked and where Burnley are now, I'm not sure that another Premier League side will take him on. I think he might have to do similar to Chris Wilder,
he's very
managing the Championship.
He is,
but then he's sort of done that himself. Like he had the opportunity to break out of that and maybe go and manage, someone else with a bigger budget and, not necessarily play different football, but sort of, be a bit more expansive, like show a different side to him rather than sort of being slightly one-dimensional at Burnley. But I think maybe he didn't take that opportunity, or maybe it was bad luck and, he didn't quite get, so, they picked another manager or whatever. But I think it just goes to show sometimes, especially in the modern game where, managers don't stay too long in their jobs in general. I think he really missed the boat. And now that's sort of come to fruition.
He's paid the price. My 2 questions for you boys are: 1, who do Burnley get in the long term? If they get Ben Mee in or whatever, who are they going to get in the long term for next season, for whatever league that they're in? Who do they get in? That's my first question. My second question is, if they get relegated, which they probably are going to, it looks like that anyway. Do you think Burnley will come straight back up, or do you think they'll come back up at all, or will they become like a Stoke where they just sort of just rest in the Championship for forevermore and don't really become relevant again? Open that up to both of you.
In terms of the manager who they're going to get in the long run, I honestly wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what sort of manager they'd be looking for. And to be honest, I wouldn't know what sort of manager would probably want to go and manage Burnley. Like, I don't want to sound in a disrespectful way to Burnley, but, they are the club in the Prem that, they don't have budget and that. And I think
it's probably the least... I want to say appetizing, least sort of appetizing and
attractive club.
Attractive, that's the one.
Because,
club, right?
because, all right, yes, Norwich, yes, they do. They do tend to go down, but Norwich they put in a great infrastructure where they don't overspend, and then they can use their budget wisely to go straight back up, and they make profit in that way. And another thing you got to think about with Burnley as well is that I think a lot of their players are out of contract in the summer. I know Tarkowski. Obviously, he's a huge player for Burnley, and I know he's out of contract in the summer. So, like, you can imagine, like, some of those players. I mean, all right, don't get me wrong, they're not. You'd probably say they're solid Premier League players. Like, you probably could see them going to, a mid-table Premier League team, and that. But Yeah, I think if they go down, then I think they will become like a Stoke, where they'll just stay mid-table in the Championship. Now, I mean, all right, they might push the playoffs because obviously they're going to have the parachute payments and that. But I think you've also got to look at the clubs that are already in the Championship,
Some
and
big teams.
quite yeah, there's big teams. There's not only big teams, but there's also teams that they run their clubs really well. Like if they don't go up this season from the Championship, you've got to look at a team like Luton. I think Luton, they're one of the lowest, again, one of the lowest budget teams in the Championship. But look at the way they run the club and that. It's honestly a brilliant like structure how they do it, and like from the style of football to what they're doing off the pitch as well. Because things like Burnley, like you wouldn't say it's like poorly run off the pitch, but it's not as well run as other clubs. Like
I think it's well. It depends what you mean by well run, right?
Yeah.
I think if you're saying don't spend without outside their means, and they sort of spend within their limits, and they're never in financial trouble, Burnley are probably well run because they don't spend anything. But
I'm not sure they are. I reckon they might be in financial trouble.
Oh, here we go. Let me Google it. Fact check me on that.
Because they've had a recent takeover, I think, maybe at the start of this season, and that, if you remember way back, there was some sort of discussion about Sean Dyche might leave anyway, just because of like lack of signings and stuff. Then they sort of signed Cornet. Now they signed Weghorst as well, who I'm assuming, Weghorst is like and Cornet, to be fair, both from Europa League, Champions League sort of level players. I would say I think that's fair based on their records. They must be paying them a hell of a wage. And that they've stayed in the Premier League for quite a few seasons, so I'm assuming some of their players are on big money. If they go down, I know that you were saying they've got a lot of players coming out of contract, but that might affect them in a big way. Maybe those, signing someone like Weghorst was very much like a last throw of the dice, like we need to stay up for financial reasons. And maybe that's why they've sacked Sean Dyche, because
maybe
they have to, they really need to stay in the Premier League. Is that important to them that they can sack, a manager who's been there for over 10 years and has done a great job?
Possibly, but then they only gave Sean Dyche a new deal 6 months ago. So it's kind of like,
how long was that deal?
I'm not sure on the length of the deal, but it's kind of like, why give him a new deal? Why don't you just be honest with Sean and just say, look, we're not going to give you a new deal yet. We're going to see how this season goes.
It was a 4-year deal.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, obviously that's going to be a big payout, because you can imagine Sean Dyche would have been on he would have been on good money. He's managing the Premier League. He's been there a while, hasn't he?
It's just a very odd situation about like, why would you do it now? Why would you do it? I mean, the season ends in like a month's time. Like,
yeah, why now? They could have sacked him at the start of the season. Do you remember they won like one game after the first 10 or maybe more than that.
The timing's very, very odd, and I'm just very confused about why Burnley would do that. And
unless if they announce a manager in the next couple of days or before the next Premier League game, and they end up staying up, then I think you could possibly say it was a good. Well, you would say it was a good decision, but absolutely. It does seem very sort of knee jerk, especially if they don't bring in someone in the next week. Then you think, what was the point?
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's back. Can you imagine? Could you imagine Ole?
He's already got one team relegated anyway, so I can't see that coming back.
Can you imagine if Ole came back? That is a very interesting one though, Burnley, and I don't know. I think they'll sort of disappear into the wilderness if they get relegated. I don't see them coming back. I think Sean Dyche is one of those managers that got the most out of his players. I think if you put another manager in his place, Burnley would have been relegated a long time ago. That's my opinion on that. But,
I agree. Yeah.
But we'll see. And sorry, Sean, your gravelly voice will be missed. And at least the bricks of Burnley will be safe, because I assume he eats bricks and gravel to get that voice right. So at least they're all safe. So yeah,
I think going back to the manager thing quickly, I think one manager Burnley probably should go for is someone like Chris Hughton. Because Chris Hughton, he plays sort of that. I wouldn't say he plays sort of that style, but he's a manager that sets up well defensively and that, and he's got, he has got, the know-how to get out of the Championship. as well.
And he kept brightening up. It wasn't pretty, but he kept brightening up. I mean, with Glenn Murray scoring nearly 20 goals a season. So
yeah, so I think if I had to pick one name for Burnley to go for in the long term, I think I would go for someone like Chris Hughton.
Is that an early prediction, Chris? It's been very long since we've had that.
Yeah, I'm not going to predict it because I want to keep my status as the prediction king.
Oh, wow, okay.
Self-proclaimed, by
the way. Ash, do you have an early prediction?
I don't. I just hope they don't go down the sort of West Brom route of merry-go-round managers. But
Claude Puel's a no-go then.
Yeah, absolutely not. Puel. It'd be nice to see a new face and a sort of new style of play, but
I'd love to them to bring him, one of the off the Ralph Rangnick train of, total football, just someone completely outlandish. Do you know what I mean?
Get Bielsa back.
Yeah, do you know?
Just for the translator.
Oh God, yeah. Imagine if that was just a very rogue Burnley signing for a manager, but an early bath. I'll say it's an early bath. It's very late in the season. A late bath. In the tepid water for Sean Dyche of the managerial merry-go-round. It's a shame, but what can we do? But as one manager goes, another one comes in. Erik ten Hag has agreed a deal. Did you see that? I was very Rafa Benitez.
Great segue.
Thank you. Agrees a deal with Manchester United. This happened a few days ago, but obviously we haven't been live for literally like a month. So much news has happened. So we're going to talk about this. Erik ten Hag agrees apparently verbally agreed a deal with Manchester United. I've seen reports of 3, but also 4 years, so there's no way of knowing. But this is, I think there was a whole thing of either Poch or Ten Hag. I think the players wanted Poch, I think, and the fans or the board wanted Ten Hag. It's a really interesting one. It really is. I saw the pros and cons to both. But Chris, let's say it was Poch and Ten Hag were the two. Who would you have gone for? And do you think it's the right decision that they've gone for Ten Hag?
Well, I think when we had like this discussion a while back on the pod, when obviously it first broke, it was between Poch and Ten Hag. I think I did lean more towards Poch just because of the experience in the Premier League. I think Ten Hag could, and I will emphasise could, be a good managerial appointment because, as we know, Manchester United, they're just not a very well-run club, are they? But it seems like they want to do and try and do right things off the pitch because obviously I saw yesterday, I think it was yesterday anyways, that they want to redevelop Old Trafford and they're bringing in the people that, they helped build the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and that, which obviously is sort of a step in the right direction. But like Ten Hag, he needs to be backed. Yes, Man United have spent a lot, on players, especially last summer, but they need to spend it in the right areas this season because with Manchester United, I feel as though they buy players based on the player's brand rather than what Manchester United actually need.
I agree, and there was a whole thing about he wants whole control of the spending and things like that. And I just again on your point, Chris, he needs to be backed financially, but also non-financially, right? The fan base needs to back him. The board, not just money, and the players need to back him. So I completely agree with your point, but do carry on. Yeah,
and he needs to be given time as well because obviously Ten Hag's going to want to implement his style of football, and that's that ain't going to come overnight like that. So he like Man United might go through a bit of a rough patch under him, and that, but fans, they need to back him because they do need a bit of long-term stability there because you look since Alex Ferguson left, like. Their longest reigning manager's probably been either Mourinho or Solskjaer, but they've only lasted 3 years, if that, because obviously when things soured and that, like the fans like start to sour against those two managers. Definitely. And that. But yeah, like I also don't think Ten Hag would have left Ajax if there wasn't a sort of structure in place for him to sort of come in and say, I want to do what I want to do, leave me. Sort of to it, but obviously it's going to be interesting to see when he does come in, if they stick to it and do let Ten Hag, bring in the players he wants to bring in, and that, or whether Manchester United do. I know this fancy player with big brand names available. Let's bring him in.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, with Poch and Ten Hag, if you want a manager that will get you into the top 4 next season, Poch will probably do that, I think, especially with the squad that United have. I reckon Poch could get that squad into the top 4. But if you want a manager who is going to transform Manchester United from the ground up and become this sort of the team that they were, the club that they were before, right? The big Manchester United, biggest club in the world, whatever. I think Ten Hag has a better chance of doing that than Poch. Barnes, do you think they've made the right decision there to go with Ten Hag over Poch, do you think?
I don't know. I think I see it as this probably more leaning towards what Chris said. I think if it was me picking, I would have gone Poch, but that's not necessarily a dig at Ten Hag. I think the thing with Ten Hag is, and what surprised me is how sort of vociferous the sort of plaudits on social media, especially Twitter and within Manchester United fans. Everyone seems to want Ten Hag. Like, you see polls on Twitter and he's like 80% Ten Hag to 20% Poch. Like, you're kind of thinking, why? Like, it's Ten Hag.
I don't think people are like well versed in Dutch football, like
exactly,
to make that decision, right?
But is winning the Eredivisie that amazing anyway? Quite a lot of managers
with
have
polls
come from...
and things like that. Sorry to cut across you, but
yeah.
if Poch wins Ligue 1 tomorrow, and that same poll was put out, and it would be like, yeah, Poch won Ligue 1 by 1 billion points, and that same poll would be put out, I guarantee it would be 80% the other way, just because of like recency bias and things like that.
Maybe,
I don't know. It's very fickle, I think.
It is very we all know fans are very fickle, but I do think there's been I'm surprised about the sort of the support for Ten Hag, just not necessarily in a bad way. It's just an unknown, isn't he? We don't really know, other than Ajax's Champions League sort of exploits where they've been really good, how good he is going to be. He might be really good. He might be, he might completely transform Manchester United, and that'd be, entertaining to see. Or he might not be very good. I don't see that much evidence that, points either way. We don't know. So it's a big risk. I think Poch was a much safer bet because obviously he's had more experience in England. I think although PSG is a bit of a poison chalice, he'll have learned some lessons from there in managing sort of big players and that kind of thing. And whoever is the new, we assume it's Ten Hag, he's got a good opportunity because Manchester United will be, there'll be a big sort of rejuvenation in the club because they're moving out a lot of players. I'm assuming that'll free up wages and then they'll bring on a lot more players. So we'll see a very different Manchester United on the pitch, no matter who is the manager next season. So I guess it's fair enough for Manchester United fans to get excited about Ten Hag. If Oxford got a new manager or whatever, we'd probably be excited about it, whoever it was. So, I don't want to dampen them, the sort of in their moment of, happiness, but I think it's a risk. We don't really know how good he's going to be. He's had no experience at that sort of level, so it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, I hope he does well.
It's interesting with the big name players. Like, do you really think? I think he'll have to compromise, right? Ajax, he gets this whole ecosystem of football and players coming through and systems and things like that. At United, it's very much the opposite. He can't implement that overnight, what he's got at Ajax. I think he'll have to compromise, especially in the case of, say, Cristiano Ronaldo. Is he really going to walk in on day one and say, Cristiano Ronaldo, I don't want you? That's a bold move if he does. And, with all Cristiano Ronaldo's age and wages and ego or whatever, he has been one of the best players one of the two best players in the world for the last decade. He is still a very good player. Would someone like Ten Hag really come in on day one and say, you are not in my plans at all?
Do you not think, Tang, that the reason that, so we've been talking about this, like as Chris mentioned, we spoke about this on the last podcast about a month ago. Do you not think the reason that this is taking so long to be confirmed is that all kind of talks are going on about this kind of thing? Like, can I move out X player? I'm not saying maybe not Ronaldo, but can I do this? Will you back me if I make this decision? Will you give me funds to sign such? Do I have to play X player? And that kind of thing. That's why I imagine this is taking quite a while because, Manchester United have sort of been run in a way that maybe board members and
player power, things like that as well.
Where maybe the manager's not had enough power and say to do what they want with the team.
That's a very interesting point. You got to play. You know, United have had. You could argue they've had not a good coach for the last maybe 2 years or so, 2.5 years. I don't think Rangnick has come in and improved them in any way as players. I don't think. He's just obviously there to steady the ship. In the last couple of years of Ollie, I maybe in the beginning he sort of got a bounce, but I don't think he's taught them much more. I don't know. That might be harsh on Ollie, and really like unfair of me to say, but they've not had a world class coach. Like with Mourinho, he's a world class. Louis van Gaal, they have a track record. If players, Ten Hag comes in, he's obviously a very good coach. It could be a revival for players like Aaron Wan-Bissaka and players like that. But you just don't know. I think these are the conversations that, as you say, Ash, they should be having. If I was a manager and I was going to Manchester United, those are the exact questions I'd be asking. What can I do with this player? Do you want me to play this player all the time? Harry Maguire's worth £80 million apparently. He's England captain. I don't want to play him. Things like that. Those are the questions that need to be asked, I think. But we'll see. I mean, it feels like we always talk about Manchester United managers on this pod, but it's just such an interesting topic. I say interesting. It's just always a topic, right?
Yeah.
And Manchester United they are an interesting. I compare them to Manchester City, who are far more interesting on the pitch in terms of watching their football, but then off the pitch they're completely dull, and we don't really care about them.
Well, let's move on to Man City and off the pitch, because Stefan Savic thinks that Phil Foden should be very much off the pitch and not roll onto it when he gets lashed out by Felipe. We'll do a bit of a Champions League roundup because I was ill, but I watched the last half an hour or so of that Man City Atletico game, and I've never seen City really grind out a result like they did again in Madrid on Wednesday night, I think it was. It was a very interesting game. There was, I think Jack said in the chat, there were 11 minutes of added time, but literally the ball was in play for maybe like a minute and a half of that, or 2 minutes, which absolutely is spot on. Carnage. Because I tell you what was great. It's not great. I hated it. Do you see last week when Luis Suarez didn't walk on the Man City badge? There was a whole thing, and everyone was like, class. That's class from Luis Suarez. One, he also bit someone and was a massive racist towards Patrice Evra, but not walking on a badge is class, by the way. What a great human being. I think that's rubbish because they've put a massive badge on the floor, and if you walk around it, you've got like a little edge. Badges are there to be walked on. I don't care. But my main point is that what an end to that game. Like, what a mad end to that game. It was just crazy. Atletico, we know, are just a crazy, crazy side. Simeone is a conductor of all that just energy and things like that. But Chris, did you watch that game? And what do you think? If you didn't, then we can talk about something else.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't watch the game. Obviously, I did see,
Chris, you're gone.
I did see the highlights of the Savic incident. Let's put it that way, because it was just hilarious how it caused like massive brawl, and like it was also weird as well because like Savic, I think Savic didn't even get booked throughout the 2 games. I think he managed to get away without picking up a booking.
I think he might have got a booking. I don't know. Maybe not.
He only made one foul or something.
Yeah, no, sorry, that was it. He got booked, but I don't think he committed a foul over the 2 legs. It's kind of like, I don't know how he's got away with that and that. But it was quite hilarious, like the whole Atletico Madrid reaction after the game. How dare Man City play like that against us, blah, blah, blah. It's like, if you're going to dish it out, you got to take it as well.
Yeah.
That's like the old school saying, isn't it? But
what's Spanish for taste of your own medicine? I didn't do Spanish.
Taste de medicine. I don't know.
Oh, good. Very good.
I'm probably more French, to be honest. But,
I was very French.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't really watch the Man City game. One Champions League game I did watch was Bayern Munich Villarreal.
You did. Good evening.
And exactly, but I think it goes to show back when Unai Emery was managing Arsenal, I think it was all right. I think there was a language barrier between him and the players, but I think it was more the players' fault because Unai Emery's proven at Villarreal what a top manager he is. He won the Europa League with them last season. He's now got them to a Champions League semi-final. Bear in mind, Villarreal, I think it's like a village in Spain. It's like a really small town in Spain. It's not it's not like a massive city in Spain. It is like a small town, and to take a team and you look at Villarreal's squad as well, like quite a few players that didn't really cut the mustard in the Premier League.
Premier League rejects, weren't they?
Yeah.
to be more direct.
Didn't really cut the mustard is very kind of you, Chris.
Yeah.
I want to be a bit respectful because like, but then like they under the system they play with Unai Emery, that they played really well. Like Coquelin had a good game. Lo Celso was fantastic. Etienne Capoe's been a rock for them. Juan Foyt has played well, but they've also got really good players like Moreno, Pau Torres. Like I think Pau Torres could easily walk into top side. He's a very good defender. Danny Parejo's a class act on the ball as well.
Former keeper.
And like fair play to him. Like going away against Bayern Munich. I mean, I'll be honest, but Bayern Munich they dominated with the ball and that, but they didn't really create many clear-cut chances.
No.
But I think that's just the testament to how well Villarreal set up and how well they defended against them, and that. And you would say it was a bit of a disappointing performance from Bayern Munich in that sense that they probably could have, done something a bit different, like change up, maybe have Lewandowski and someone like Choupo-Moting on the pitch with him for longer, because I think they literally only brought Choupo-Moting on when Villarreal scored to make it 2-1 in aggregate. It's kind of like, well, surely you're Bayern Munich playing at the Allianz Arena. Surely instead of wanting it to go to extra time, you'd want to throw on a second striker and try and get a winner before. But then credit to Villarreal, caught them on the counter. I think it was their only shot on target they scored with as well. But it was a brilliant counter-attacking goal, and fair play to him. A tie against Liverpool in the semi-final. I mean, Liverpool. Let's face it, Liverpool should beat Villarreal, but the Liverpool fans can't take Villarreal lightly because they've beaten Juventus and they've beaten Bayern Munich. They well and truly deserve to be in a Champions League semi-final.
Oh, if it's going to be a Liverpool City final, it's just boring. Like Liverpool City in the Premier League, Liverpool City in the Champions League, Liverpool City in the FA Cup. It's boring. I'm just sick of it. That's just me as a jealous Oxford fan. But, I'm sure Liverpool and City fans love it. But, Ash, did you watch any of the Champions League games this week? And what are your opinions on what happened and what transpired?
Yeah, I mean, the Atletico City game was really good. I thought it was a really good watch, and it was sort of hilarious to see so many sort of media outlets, especially in the UK, sort of get really upset about how, dirty and stuff Atletico are, and, how much a shithouse team they are. But, like, it is entertaining and enjoyable to watch, I think.
I love
think
it.
Their games, they are really fun.
I love it.
And, like, some of the stuff they do is obviously not great. But as Chris said, really, they got out shithoused, didn't they, by Man City? They couldn't take it.
And fair play to City for doing that.
And fair play to them. I did think Atletico did have some chances, though, and City did look panicky at times, which...
Absolutely panicking Skywalker.
Yeah, well, it doesn't surprise me, really, because obviously we know that there's a lot of pressure on the players and Guardiola to go and do something in the Champions League. But I think over the two legs, they probably deserve to go through. And then on the Bayern Villarreal one's probably the next most interesting because Liverpool breezed past Benfica. On the sort of Villarreal thing, I think Unai Emery I'd love to see his record on knockout football. He must have one of the best records for the size he's been at in sort of the Europa League / Champions League, because his record is unbelievable. And yes, Villarreal are a fairly small club, but I think it shows that maybe Bayern aren't in the best place either. I think routinely you'd expect Bayern to smash Villarreal especially across two legs, and they were poor, really, to be honest, especially in the first leg. They really didn't show up. So I'm not too surprised. Although, like you said, it just ends up in that Liverpool Villarreal doesn't really feel like a Champions League semi-final. Like, it's not a game that I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go switch that on, and then. Again, with Man City, I'm not really bothered about Man City, Real Madrid. Okay, it's more two established clubs, might be a slightly more interesting fixture, but I'm not really bothered about that either. So I don't know. It's quite an uninteresting Final Four, I think, for the Champions League. There's no other than Villarreal. There's no one really to root for. But I hope Villarreal win. That would be great.
That would be
Last
good.
point I make about Unai Emery is that just about something that Chris said. I think at Arsenal, the expectation is very different to when you're at Villarreal. Like Villarreal, on this run they're going on, they can't lose really. It's just, there's no pressure on them to in any game. The further they get, the more they start to believe. Whereas Arsenal, there's sort of a very high pressure that they should be doing better. And then you look at their players and you think you should be where you are. So it's I think Arsenal just in general is a tough job and there's a lot of pressure on. And then obviously they said they were language issues, but it's hard to know really. Bielsa was smashed it at Leeds and I don't think he spoke that much English, but who knows?
Well, he didn't.
But yeah.
Champions League. I mean, and then also the Chelsea Real Madrid game was apparently a very good game. That Modric pass, you'd have to see it. But last thing on Simeone, I tell you what I hate. It's the discourse around the players will run through walls for Simeone, which I hear every single time. It's like, would you not? Surely that should be for every manager, right? Like every player should run through a wall for their manager, not just Simeone. And if you don't, then there's an issue with you there. But I just don't like that discourse around Diego Simeone. I think it's the media just hyping things up because they're the media. But then Luka Modric's pass was very good. So let's just bring it back to that. Cool. That was, we've gone for 50 minutes. Do we want to talk about Europa League stuff? Because I was watching half of the Rangers highlights. Rangers is rocking.
Give it a mention.
Let's give it a mention.
Huge.
West Ham, yeah. It's crack. It's lovely to see two former Oxford boys, Kamar Roof and John Lundstrom, ripping it up in Europe, quite frankly. Semi-finals of the Europa League. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst doing an unbelievable job there. Can Rangers win the Europa League, do you reckon?
I don't think they can. Fair play to them for getting to the semi-finals, but obviously they got to play RB Leipzig in the semi-final, and Leipzig they've improved massively under Tedesco. I know Ash Barnes is Jesse Marsh's number one fan, shall we say? He's been a massive advocate. He is doing a very good job at Leeds, and maybe it was a case that maybe the Leipzig job maybe just didn't. It's weird saying it didn't suit him, considering he come through like the Red Bull sort of system and that. But maybe it was just one of them that maybe the Leipzig job didn't suit him. But fair play to Tedesco, he's come in, he's done a really good job with Leipzig. Christopher Nkunku's one of the hottest talents on the planet at the minute. He's scoring goals for fun in that team.
Having them in my ultimate team, he has so many informed cards. It's a joke.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing with Leipzig. You look at their team; they've got some really exciting players all over the pitch. Sir Bosley, I think that's how you say his name, the Hungarian fella. He's a good player.
Sir Bosley, you've just said in my head there.
and players like Forsberg. And I think there'll be too much for Rangers, but like you said, fair play to Gio Van Bronckhorst for getting them far. But also, I think we also got to mention Eintracht Frankfurt as well. Fair play to them as well, beating Barcelona, 3-2 in their own backyard. Obviously they went 3-0 up as well, Frankfurt. But that was quite interesting as well, because I think somehow 30,000 Frankfurt fans managed to get tickets.
That's unreal.
Yeah, because there's literally dotted about all over the stadium. There's a huge section, right at the top as well. Because I know Xavi and Laporta, afterwards moan about it. It's like, well, especially towards Laporta, surely that's your fault. Surely you should be doing your best as the Barcelona president to be trying to get Barcelona fans to come into your stadium and watch Barcelona, and not Frankfurt fans going in there and just sitting in the home end and that. But good credit to Frankfurt. I watched the highlights this morning, and I tell you what, that Rafa Borre strike was unbelievable goal. I think it was the tie of the round. The commentator called it after he scored it, but it generally was the tie of the goal of the round. Sorry, in that. So credit to that. It could be an all British final. It could be an all German final.
See how it goes.
See how it goes. Really, if I had to put a prediction on, I'd probably go for a West Ham Leipzig final, but you never know.
West Ham are massive everywhere they go. Wow. Oh, I felt horrible saying that.
Take that back.
Oh. Oxford are massive everywhere they go. There we go. We're back. Oh, good. I mean, Europa League. I don't want to talk about the Conference League because it's pretty much a pointless competition. Even Spurs don't want to be in it, but Leicester do. So there we go. Right. Well, 55 minutes. It's been great chatting with you boys again. It's been a while. Hopefully, should be back to more regular rhythms again soon. I think work for me was a bit crazy over the last 3 or 4 weeks, so apologies on my end. Anything else that you wanted to talk about in the time that we've been away? Are Oxford getting promoted, or have we just bottled it and should we not talk about it ever again?
Never talk about it again.
Good. I thought I didn't want to talk about it at all.
Yeah, prefer not to speak.
Prefer not to speak. But anything else that you guys wanted to talk about? Any football related? Anything non-football related?
We won't get into the F1 here, Tang.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that afterwards.
There's a separate conversation.
That's a separate conversation. Anyway, but everyone, thank you very much for anyone and everyone who's been listening and watching this episode. We've lost a subscriber, and normally I'd be really mad, but it has been like 4 weeks, so I kind of get it. So just come back and just resubscribe, whoever that person is. And no hard feelings. We're back. So do share with a friend. Do smash a like on the like button. Do follow us on the socials. Do subscribe. Please do. We're still trying to hit that 75 goal, and hope we'll get there soon. I hope. And yeah, well, we'll get there soon if people do subscribe. That's the plan. That's how it works. That's how numbers works. So tell a friend to subscribe, or tell a brother or a sister or a mother, father, dog, cat, ferret, snake, whatever pets are there, gerbil, things like that. Just tell them to subscribe. That would be great. Anyway, it's bye from myself and waving goodbye waving goodbye from Chris and Ash and myself. And we'll see you guys very soon. Ash and Chris, maybe see you in the pub sometime this weekend, which would be very interesting and very fun. Yeah, bye.
See you in the showers.
See you in the showers.